welcome to this week's edition of the Collection Comic of the Week. Keeping with this month's theme of introductions, the book I have chosen for this week is Marvel Tales starring Spider-Man, issue 161, and this is a reprint of Spider-Man Annual number 2, but the reason it's in the introductions pile is because the title of the story, as you can see, is The Wondrous World of Doctor Strange. This is my first exposure to Doctor Strange. And what was really cool about being exposed to Doctor Strange through this comic book was later on when I would watch the Fox Kids Spider-Man animated series and Doctor Strange would make an appearance there, I was all excited. I'm like, yeah, no, that's the guy from the comic book. That's the guy from the comic book. And I was really, really pumped up. But yeah, this is the first time I ever been exposed to Doctor Strange. And I remember getting this book at the time I was 6 years old, I want to say, 5 or 6 years old, and I became interested in playing the guitar. My grandfather played guitar, and he was really getting good at it, and I wanted to be like my grandpa, and so I started wanting to take guitar lessons, and we had a guy who would come in and give me lessons, and I remember I was struggling with one of the songs from the book. I can't remember what the song was. I mean, and I didn't stick with music, so now I feel even really worse about having this, but he said, you know, if you next week you can play this song, I got a surprise for you. So I ended up really practicing hard. I'm like, oh, I wonder what it could be. And he knew I liked, you know, superheroes. I was getting into the, you know, the Fox Kids lineup, you know, your Batman the Animated Series, your Spider-Man, your X-Men. And he had this comic book from his collection. And he's like, here you go. This is yours now because of how well you could learn that song. So, yeah, I still appreciate him for giving me this book. I feel bad that I didn't stick with the guitar, but yeah, let's take a look inside. So looking through the book here, one of the first things that really stood out to me was just the artwork. Like, this was just something like I'd never seen before. And when I opened it up and I see, you know, I guess this is like the title card, so to speak, I'm like, who's that guy? What is all of this? What's happening to Spider-Man? Who's that guy? Just really, really, you know, now that I'm older, I have an appreciation for Steve Ditko's artwork, but also in rereading all of this, just gorgeous artwork right here. I still have an appreciation for just how well Stan Lee was able to write. I mean, a lot of this is, you know, granted, you know, the way people talk has been updated, but just the dialogue and the story that's been crafted in front of us, Stan and Steve did a great job with this, and, you know, I was still, having read it as a child, you know, still very, very much engaged with this whole story and rereading it for Collection Comic of the Week. And another thing that really stood out to me as a kid was seeing the Spidey Tracker for the first time. I'd never, at least at that point, seen an episode of, like, the Fox Kids show with the Spidey Tracker, so after seeing it here, whenever he would eventually use it on the Fox Kids show, I was like, oh yeah, it's like what he has in the comic book. So that was really cool. Also, a little bit cool looking back and seeing this now, because I didn't really know what it was when I first got this as a kid. But the advertisement from Mile High Comics, and they're a big comic book sale apparently at this time in 1984. And just really cool to see that this shop is still going today. And yeah. Well, very, very happy to say I've ordered stuff from Mile High Comics before. And here we go, got Doctor Strange in here now, and just real, I always just thought the way all this was done that Doctor Strange just looked awesome. Just really loved, I didn't understand it really at the time, but just like, he's shooting these like cool things with magic, and it's awesome. And they see the muscles in 7 days, so yeah, you gotta love the classic ads they used to have in these books, and more awesome action, more great artwork from Steve Ditko, and some advertisement for some books on sale now. Maybe we'll see this one on a future episode. And just, like I said, I really thought that Doctor Strange looked cool, and, you know, this is my first exposure to Doctor Strange, and I really enjoyed it, and really enjoyed the book, enjoyed going back and rereading it, And as a bonus, here's another Spider-Man book that I lost the cover to way back in the day. So getting a little bit of a twofer. Just kind of taped it onto this one, and yeah, decided to make this like a double-sized issue, if you will. And this was also this book was my first exposure to Elektra. But we'll talk more about those characters on a different date. So yeah, that is Marvel Tales Spider-Man number 167, a reprint of Stan Lee and Steve Ditko on Spider-Man Annual number 2 from 1965. And it wasn't the first appearance of Doctor Strange in the original printing, but it was my first exposure to Doctor Strange. And even when the movie came out decades after me receiving this book from my fleeting interest in learning guitar, I still thought of this book and still thought of guitar lessons and thought of all of that whenever I was going to the theaters to see Doctor Strange. And so this book had a real big effect on me. And if my old guitar teacher stumbles upon this, thank you once again for letting me have one of your old books. I really do appreciate it and still hold it very dear to me. And I'm sorry I didn't stick with music, but it wasn't because of your teaching. But thank you all for joining me on this week's edition of the Collection Comic of the Week. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share, subscribe for more content, not just from the world of comics, from the world of pro wrestling, gaming, anime, and all things geek culture. Follow me on all my social media pages, Facebook.com/AthleticGeekA9, Twitter @Athletic_GeekA9, and Instagram @AthleticGeekA9. Now, later.